Share the stream. Share the stream. Maybe I'll leave this up over here so you guys can see the chat. Okay. I'll just wait for people to join and hopefully they get through security quickly. Oh wait, I'll leave that up, yeah. Oh, there's Amado, one of the locals.
Hello, Amado.
Can you see the chat?
Yes, I just made my screen a bit bigger so I can read it as well.
Cool.
Hello, guys.
AD. So we're just going to wait for a few people to join and then we are going to, oh yeah, we're also waiting for Faul and Wad. They were on the call, but they had to go through airport security. So hopefully that goes quickly and then they'll join us. Can I submit organic house today? I think all the submissions are closed now. But I probably should have mentioned this before. You don't have to make Afro House with an Afro House pack. You can make whatever genre you want.
Of course.
Actually, I think sometimes that's when the best things happen is when you use sounds from other genres and put them into, your own genre.
Yeah, the same goes for me. And I think our pack is really also very well usable for organic and progressive house. I mean, that's also what I use some of these samples for. And
Yeah.
especially the diva presets are really useful for all sorts of other genres as well.
Yeah, I think when it comes to presets, it's like you can use, like pretty much most presets can be used for any genre, right? Until you get into like bass music, the growls and
Yeah.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you separate an Afro pluck from like a melodic house pluck? Basically the same thing.
I agree.
Hey, there's Delicious, Carp, Birch. How many people are you've got 22 people in so far. We could start on the first song, but then we're not going to get feedback from Faul and Wad.
Should I maybe also make a post on my Instagram? How could I make that?
I did
Could you just send me the
share.
link? Could
I
you send me
shared
the
a.
link so I could copy the link in a story? Maybe a few people want to join as well.
Yeah.
Best would be if you'd send me right through Instagram,
Okay.
if that's possible.
Yeah. While we're waiting, guys, if you have any questions for the Maestro, Passenger 10, or Christian Hurt, Now's the time. Um,
Oh, you already did that here. So I can just share yours.
yeah, you can share it all. Here's the link, so if you want to make your own, you can.
Okay, that's okay. That should be enough. Link is here as well.
There's a question for you. What's your favorite track you've created?
Okay. Uh, that's hard to say. I would say always the newest track. Because the newest track is fresh and you're having this energetic feeling from when you create something out of nothing.
Yeah,
So that's probably the best feeling when you created something new. And then you start the process all over and you have the same feelings again.
yeah, that's why we keep doing it, right?
Hmm.
There's no track that like you ever go back to and you're like, this one still feels really good.
Yeah, no, I keep going back to certain areas of production phases where I'm like, okay, I had a pretty good run here and there, and listened to a few tracks or some sketches that I did in that time. This might happen, but like a particular track, not really, no.
Yeah, I think probably have like 3 or 4 of my own that I really like and go back to, but there's no like one that's like above all the other.
Right. It's hard to pick, especially if you made so many tracks. It's hard to pick one. I sometimes hear tracks and I cannot even remember that I did them until it hits a certain part of the track anymore.
Yeah. You must have written thousands of tracks, right?
Yeah, I did well over 3,000 compositions and like five, six, or even more hundred remixes. I
Yeah.
mean, I started in the 90s, right? I started with the physical records that you would um, have to release on a vinyl or on a CD back then, and then slowly it shifted into the MP3 um, world, and from there into the streaming world. So I come a long way, yeah.
Yeah, that is a long way. I think in the 90s I was still under 10 years old.
Oh, I started early too, I have to admit. I started working on computers and making music, I would say 94, 95, right when the very first Cubase came out. Like the
How old were
very,
you?
very first Cubase, I was already on board.
How old were you then?
15,
Wow.
15. But before that, I made music on workstations. So I had a Roland XP50 workstation, which cost me a fortune back then, right? I basically had to throw in all of my savings to be able to buy that, and I had to pay monthly contributions to pay it off for the next few years to come. But that workstation at that time allowed me to basically have 16 tracks that I could program, right? I could only program it with those sounds that were given in these workstations, which basically were like 127 of these GM general MIDI sounds, a few
Yeah,
extra sounds, a few shitty drum samples, and that was it, right?
amazing.
And then when the first Cubase came out and computers were affordable, or at least they were affordable if you would put them together yourself. And I had a friend of mine that was a computer nerd already at that time, and he was helping me creating this custom computer to make music, the very first one. And then that's where we installed Cubase. And from there on, I mean, it was a whole different world because I could include all sorts of sounds. I could sample that first. Cubase already had a function where you could import audio files. It was limited, was very limited. Obviously, also the computer was very limited in memory and stuff,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
uh, it was already to a certain degree how I would work nowadays, right? So I can remember even years after I would still go into studios and people would have these very big hardware samplers.
yeah,
And I was already trying to make the same in the box. So that gave me a head start that I was already working with this future kind of technique while other people still used, and this was very, very complicated to program these hardware samplers like these Akai samplers and stuff,
yeah,
MPCs.
yeah. That's cool. So you started out on Cubase and then you switched over to Logic.
Yeah, I started on Cubase and then switched to Logic, I would say 97, maybe 98. Then it was still a product of Imagic before it was bought by Apple.
Why did you switch?
Um, Imagic was the company that produced and owned it before.
Hmm.
And yeah, that it was. I think I did it because I at that time had a studio partner and he was working on Logic, and we kind of decided to switch to Logic, which was okay for me. And from there on, I basically stayed
Yeah,
with Logic. I tried Appleton then a few times, but always came back to Logic for, I don't know. I don't even know why. I think it's just the comfortability I have in Logic
yeah.
now.
It's like your native language.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Reading the chat quickly. Here's one. Christian, I watched you make microscopic adjustments to short percussion samples for a long time in your 5-hour session. Did you plan exactly at the start where to go with that, or did it just evolve?
I mean, when I make adjustments, usually I do them on purpose, but sometimes it might be that these little microscopic adjustments are not going to change track and stuff, right? But usually I intend to do all these tweaks, right? And since I'm very fast and finding my way around to do these tweaks very fast, they are happening basically automatically in my head. So I do not think about it too much anymore, right? I
Yeah,
also when I watched the full session back, I was also like a few things I cannot really remember anymore. That I really did them, but somehow it's just in that automatic process of creating a track, right?
yeah,
And in my process is also like I um uh, sometimes have like that I think already of the next step while I'm still in doing that step well still maneuvering the thing I had before in my head, but I'm already one or two or three steps ahead. But that's also like it allows me to do that because this it's kind of like because I'm so familiar with the whole process because I do it over and over again in Logic that I know so well. It's basically like my CPU is not full, so I can really juggle with things. And that's why I tell everybody the key to having better tracks and being less tired after you make a track is like to keep doing the same over and over again because you're really getting in certain automatic processes that will be allowing you to then be able to still think of the creative process while you're taking care of the technical processes, you know. And
mm,
if you're a beginner, then sometimes you get hung up into these technical issues and stuff, and you completely forget about the full creative process, right? And it takes you three times as long, or you think things over for I don't know how much, and it doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Like the technical and the creative parts of your brain are like two very different.
Hmm.
It's not a, yeah. And I guess from making 3,000 tracks by now, it's all just like muscle memory.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, have about I every year I check like the I can see how many tracks I register at the um association in Switzerland. It's called Suiza, right? I guess in
Yeah.
England it's called PSR and in America ASCAP.
Yeah.
And I register between 70 and 100 tracks a year. So
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I finish 70. I think maybe like 60 tracks a year.
yeah. And those are just the ones that are getting released, right?
Yeah, so that's not the. I mean, how many out of let's say if you make 20 ideas, how many of those would you finish and release?
I would say in the morning I start with like sketching out short ideas. And this can be that I sketch out on up to five, six different sketches before I'm like, okay, this is good enough to go into the arrangement production. And but once I'm starting the arrangement production, I finish a track.
Okay.
Even if halfway through I'm like, okay, this will most likely not gonna be the biggest shot of your career, but I put certain time in, and I am also going by the fact like if if I like something in the very beginning, someone else might appreciate this as well when they listen to it the first time, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have like if we are listening to a track 100 times, it loses the spark after a certain amount of time. And the same is in the production process. So I try to trust the first instinct, the first feeling that I had when I started or came up with a certain melody. So once I start the arrangement process, then I push it through.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I've found if I work on a track for a long time and I lose that feeling, that initial feeling that you just spoke about, I tend to just, leave it and it dies on my
Right,
hard drive. But
right.
maybe you're right about trusting that initial feeling, and you should just because you never know, right? Like every time I hear an interview with somebody who's had a hit, usually they say they didn't think it would be a hit, and
Absolutely.
you never know which
I
one it's
cannot
going to
even
be.
count as many tracks that I was like, oh man, this is just one for the bin as well. And
Yeah,
then they turned out to maybe open a door to something or just did more than I actually would have ever think they would. So yeah,
yeah,
it's you have to try it out, especially nowadays where music became again some kind of a lottery again, right? Where
yeah,
there's so much music out there, and every day there are hundred thousands of songs now arriving on Spotify and stuff. Um, it's kind of a lottery, and if you would only be like, okay, I'm concentrating on this one single track that I'm working on since 3 months, you might get terribly disappointed
yeah,
because I don't even think you have a bigger chance with this one track than someone has with a track that he or she did in a day or 2 days or you know.
yeah. It's all
So
about
and
that
I don't even
idea.
think my tracks do not get better if I work on them 3 4 days.
Oh, yeah,
Do
yeah.
yours get better?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Like I'd like to think that the I agree with you. Like the core idea is the core idea, and that's what makes the track, right? It's like the melody and the harmony. But if you spend like another session adding cool little ear candy bits, I'd like to think it helps keep it interesting. Um, but I think broadly speaking, like if a track's going to be a hit, it's going to be a hit, regardless of whether it has all the ear candy and fireworks in it.
Yeah, I know, but you could. I can only speak for myself. I sometimes think that I am crushing certain tracks with too much ear candies sometimes. Sometimes I have to hold myself back with ear candies.
Hmm.
And I also get this feedback sometimes from the outside world where people are like, okay, these are now three tracks in one, or this ear candy there. Why is there another ear candy there? And I really sometimes have to hold myself back because I think you can also overdo it. And if you're listening to the real big tracks, they oftentimes have very minimalistic ear candies, but very smartly placed, like
Hmm.
when sometimes I would throw in ear candies, like just like, okay, let's see how this feels like here. Okay, yes or no. Okay, yes, keep going next. Here, okay, no, here, okay, yes. They might take more time. Maybe I don't have that patience to push it through for that long, and I just keep adding, and that's why it's then an overkill. I don't know, but for me, it does not help me if I work too long on tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely felt that. Like, I think some of the best work I've done is tracks that have just taken a few hours and I've
Mm,
stopped for, like, for example, like a remix has a deadline and
mm,
I've left it until the last minute and then it's like, okay, I have to send this in now. It doesn't feel
mm,
finished, but then you think, oh, thank God I did have that deadline because I probably would have ruined it if I'd worked on it for too long.
mm.
Yeah, another feeling. Um,
Yeah, that's what I do as well. Sometimes I start something until a certain moment, and then I'm like, okay, right now I do not feel it anymore as I did in the very beginning, but that does not mean the track is bad, as I already said before. So I put it aside and might take it back up in like a few weeks later. And then you're getting also to it again from a very new perspective. You're seeing things from a different approach. And that
yeah.
can help then to finish the track with the same motivation as you did when you started it in the beginning. So this I do as well, yes.
Sometimes
But
I,
as you said, sometimes you have deadlines and then you are
yeah,
just not in a situation where this is actually very good allow you to actually do that.
yeah. Um, Sometimes I worry that when I come back to a track, like you said, you leave it for a while and you come back with a fresh perspective.
Hmm.
And then if you come back and you love it, sometimes I think, okay, I only love it because it's familiar. Like I know the
Hmm.
melody already, and it's like that same thing. If you show a friend a song that they don't know, they might think, it's average. But
Hmm.
you've heard it so many times and it's familiar to you, so that's why it's good.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's one thing that I struggle with because I have a whole folder of tracks that I'm like, oh, I really should come back and finish these. I like them, but then I'm worried that maybe it's just yeah they're familiar. That's why I like them. They're not actually that
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, same. I wonder who Chris would go to for feedback on his tracks. Um, well, usually the feedback comes when a track is out, then. I try not to do this feedback carousel because it can be confusing, right? Um, I don't think I, I don't think I'm benefiting if I'm going to show the track to my grandma, to my friends, and they all have a different feedback that would probably insecure me. So my feedback is really once a track is out, does a track get well perceived on certain platforms like Spotify or Beatport or on YouTube or whatever, maybe in a commercial or so. And that's then for me the feedback. So if nothing happens, I know, okay, I, I probably didn't nail that one. And if something happens or a feedback comes back that I chart somewhere or I make a little bit more streams than usual, then I'm like, okay, there must have been something there that I did right. So I really try to avoid feedback, too much feedbacks on my tracks.
Yeah, yeah, that's also happened to me where I make something that I absolutely love and I send it to a friend and maybe they're either having a bad day or, you know, sometimes just all music doesn't sound good. They come back
Yeah.
and tell me, it's average, it's like feels generic or something, and then it's like, oh well, it's dead to me now. Maybe that would have been my hit.
Right.
Yeah.
And how can someone stand for the whole world, right? So and especially people from that you are even connected in a certain way on an emotional basis, they will give you different kind of feedback than the regular Joe who hears your track on Beatport or Spotify or even in a club, right? Sometimes a track is gonna work in a club where a complete different feeling, a complete different environment is given, rather than if you're showing that track to someone or my wife showing the track to my wife, who is in a complete different mindset at that time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes
so our guys are still in the security check. Let me check here if they wrote me.
Yeah, sometimes I get my wife in here. I'm like, come listen to this thing I've just made. I'm so excited about it. She's got the kids in the kitchen who are like pissing her off, so she's in a bad mood. Comes in and she's like, oh, it's nice. And then she like walks out. I'm like, fuck.
Me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can
I
you hear
can hear
me?
you. Yeah, I can.
They say they are waiting for you to let them in.
Oh, really? Oh, the OBS was covering it. That's my bad. Hopefully they haven't been there for like 20 minutes.
Hello, everyone.
Hey
Hey
guys, what's up?
guys.
We finally made
Hey.
it.
Sorry, I don't
That's
know how
good.
long you guys were waiting to come in, but it was hidden behind another window, so I didn't see it.
All good. We were listening to the live on YouTube, so it's good.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Faul and Wad, Maxime and Camille. I hope I'm saying that
What's up,
right.
everyone?
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
And yeah, they are pretty big artists with some pretty big hits. You don't know Changes. You probably do know Changes, this song from 2020, 2013, I believe.
Yes, so it's pretty old school.
And more recently, this track, how do you say it? Sauti or Sauti?
Sauti.
Sauti.
It's a Swahili language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is actually funny because I was referencing this track a lot when we were making the Afro House pack.
Oh,
And
really?
then,
That's cool.
Yeah, and then when Chris told me about you, I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I love this track. It's absolute banger.
Thanks a lot, man.
And yeah, so they're actually in the airport at the moment. Where are you guys? Are you in France or?
We're in Geneva right now. At the Geneva
okay.
airport, we played at Courchevel, you know, the ski station in France. And
Okay.
yeah, now we are going back to Frankfurt. So yeah, we have a couple of hours in the airport. So it's a
And
good time.
you live in Frankfurt, right?
Yeah, we moved there 2 years ago.
Nice. Okay. And yeah, me and Chris have been chatting for ages, and I think everybody knows who Chris is. But if you don't know, he's a Grammy-nominated producer who's worked with massive pop artists and also massive electronic artists. His artist project is Passenger 10. He works with artists like Nora and Pure and EDX. Yeah, what do you say? 3,000 release tracks, hundreds of remixes. He knows his stuff. So yeah, today we're here with a bunch of experts to listen to and roast your music. Yeah, so
Sounds
I've got
fun.
a folder here. We've got 20 tracks. We're going to aim to do like 10 minutes per track. I don't know if we're gonna have time to get through all of them, but let's just get started and see how far we get. I'm gonna start from the first submission, which is this one. Okay, so yeah, also to save time, I'm not gonna listen to like the entire track from start to finish. I'll play it from like here more or less to like here. And then we'll take turns giving some feedback. Okay.
Cool.
Should I just go first?
Nice track.
Maybe you go first.
Cool. Yeah, so I really like the like melodic ideas. They're nice and like dreamy and simple, but quite catchy. I think the only thing I really felt was like feels like once I've heard like this section, there's nothing much more to like look forward to. The breakdown kind of just feels like you're literally stripping elements back and then bringing them back in. I'd like to hear like something new, something fresh come in here, as well as like a bit more energy in the last drop, so to speak, like maybe a ride or something just to like pick up the drums a bit. And yeah, if you had like a new vocal sample or something to kind of tie it all together in this last section would be nice. You want to go, Christian?
Sure. I thought it's a pretty cool summer track. Like I can imagine this track playing on the beach or on the pool or something. And for that, it's very well executed, I think. Um, I understand the idea that this might be the extended version. Um, for that, it is okay, but if I am on a listening, on a listener side, I'm like, I started hearing this mid part here when the main melody went away and you worked with these vocal snippets. After a while, it got a little bit boring there. Whether I was expecting to change, whether as Julian said, maybe come in with something on top like a ride or an ear candy, or just switch it up a little bit, or just shorten this part, right? So you might even perhaps did this in a shorter version. So the track stays exciting and moving somehow, because it's exactly what Julian said. Then once you heard this very, very long part here, it's kind of like there's nothing new to experience anymore after it, right? Which is okay if you're on the beach and you are just listening to music in the background, but if you are right in the moment and in the music, I would have rather preferred the track to be a little bit shorter or work with more ear candies or certain fill-ins or variations. But the rest and that mix down is really nice, sounds nice here. Also very good mono compatibility. So very well done.
Cool. Camille.
Yeah, Maxime's phone just died, so I think we're gonna go one song each.
Okay, cool.
So I'm gonna go for this one. Yeah, I really agree with you guys. I really love the breakbeat that's inside the track and all throughout the track, and I think it's very original and a lot of melodies are intertwined and it's very it's very entertaining. I just think there's a lot of different motifs at the same time, and it's like a block. And sometimes there's not one motif that is just standing out. And I think you should choose one motif and put it like in front of every other motifs and leave some space for it to catch the ear, because there's like a lot of things going on at the same time. So it's like less is more. I think it should be more stripped down. And I agree with Christian. It could be shorter and with more variations. So like one motif and then you go to another motif. And so it keeps the listener entertained all throughout the track. But I think the idea is very interesting. So yeah, keep it up, man.
Cool. All right. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Bruno. Okay, I really like this one. I can hear a lot of the sounds from the pack, which is nice. I think you did a really great job with like ranging all the vocals and like building kind of like almost an entire song out of really short phrases. Like the groove is great, the mix is really nice. I think the harmony, everything, really nice. The only thing I was missing was that it felt like the song was really like building up to something big over here, but then nothing like. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just not as like energetic as I was hoping for. I think maybe you could have made like your little, that din 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 din. Maybe make that a bit brighter or something, just to kind of pick up the energy over there. And there was one moment where I felt like the vocal almost felt slightly out of tune with the rest of the track. It was like. Yeah, like somewhere around there, like one of the syllables felt a little bit dissonant. But otherwise, yeah, I think this has a lot of potential. I was really enjoying it. Like I would play this track. So yeah, over to Christian.
Yes, I also really enjoy this track. And here is exactly done what I was missing in the other one. I mean, this one also had very long stretched parts, but the way the producer here arranged it and with all these small little details, and they kept it interesting all the way through, right? So it built up something just with these small little ear candies. Very well executed when this choir came in underneath that main vocal. Also, the only thing that I also have to point out is also the drop. I would have expected there whether more or maybe just some like a little bit of a confusion. I like to create confusions before drops as well. Everything was nice, but then maybe just something special before the actual drop to kind of flip it or to just give, I don't know, to just throw it a little bit more out and then come back in with. It doesn't even need to be something else that is going on in the drop, but just the pre-drop could have been a little bit more, I don't know, creative. But everything else is very nice. I very much enjoyed this track.
Cool. Over to you guys.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the track. Sounds really cool. We can clearly hear some samples from the pack. I heard some, I think it was like rain or something in the breaks. And yeah, the track evolves really well. It's really well produced. I really like the tone and the groove. The motif is very strong. Yeah, the only thing would be like I would expect a bit more, as you said, Christian, maybe a bit before the drop, but maybe in the drop as well, it could explode a bit more. But again, it's like it depends on the emotion of the outlet. If you want it like to keep it like a bit more smooth in the drop, then it's a choice. So, but yeah, it's very nice, and I could see this track sign like I would say maybe in Mo Black's label or Francis Mercier, in this direction. So yeah, it's a really good track.
Nice. Cool. Well done. Oops. Going on. All right, we got Clark Kaufman. Blast off. Check it out. Okay. I really like the drums. The drums are cool. They're like quite big and disco-y, nicely mixed. I think the melody wasn't too fond of it. It didn't like really, I don't know, connect with me personally, but maybe that's just a personal thing. Also, the lead felt like it was kind of sitting almost like behind a really small reverb. And so it's like it's not really sitting, at the front of the track. It's kind of like sitting a little bit behind everything, even though it's supposed to be like at the front. So maybe it's just an easy adjustment of bringing down the mix level on the reverb or something. I think actually the strongest part of the track was around here for me. And then here it loses me a bit. So I don't know, maybe it's just a case of simplifying it and coming and focusing more on like this idea over here. Over here it's also not too bad. It's just the lead that's a bit pushed back. And then yeah, it feels a bit too busy over there for me. I think it also needs to be simplified a little bit. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
I liked it. I like the idea, this kind of blend some 80s sounds with modern melodic and trance music. Here I have a few things to point out mixdown wise. I think the kick drum here would get lost. If you really blast this on a good club system, I have a feeling that the bass is going to be very loud, very muddy, and the kick drum is not really pushing through. And it sounds like that the artist here worked with compressors on groups. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I think. That's why here in the first part it sounds best, because there are the least amount of elements in, and the more elements that come in, the more it gets kind of like muddy somehow, and especially the low end definition goes away, and the sizzling high end is also not defined anymore, because a lot of reverb is canceling out to basically differentiate these elements. So I would rather work with less bus compressors and more like direct insert compressors to whatever element you want to compress, instead of bundling them together and compress them on buses. I think you're getting a better result there. In my opinion, you can hear the very, very hard compression here. But the track is nice. I'm a sucker for melodies, so I liked the melodies.
Cool. Camille?
Yeah, so we think the track was very, very nice and punchy, and all the elements make sense together. It's very, it has a very cool atmosphere, so we love it. And the only thing we think it could be more stripped down, as Christian said, it can be a little bit overcrowded. We feel like it. And for example, in the drop, it could be like the kick, the bass, and the main melody, and then add all the other elements and all these hypnotic elements at the second part of the drop to make it more evolutive. And I think, and I don't know, like it's artist choice, so I don't think I cannot say so much about that. But I would have added like maybe a catchy vocal in the breaks, maybe something like I would have said, like in Splice, and try to get a vocal. Nice eerie vocal or something like that. But overall, we think it's super nice. Yeah.
Nice one. Okay. Guys, there's somebody at my door. I just need to go answer it, but I'll keep playing the track so long. just want to hear like a few seconds of this drop because I missed it. Okay. Yeah, I like the atmosphere and like the kind of the progression, the chord progression of the track is nice. The vocal, I think you could process the vocal a bit more to be like a bit brighter, and also maybe like try like duplicating it and you know, pitching the vocal into different octaves and like really like thickening it up, making it like really big and just make it feel more emotional, basically. And I really like the melody that comes in over here. It's a nice melody, but it's also really like hidden. So I think you should overall maybe make the track a bit drier and bring that melody forward, like play it on a really nice, bold synth. Because it's a good melody and it's really hidden at the moment. Yeah, otherwise I think just overall the track feels a little too reverby. Just a bit drier overall would be nice. And that's it.
I like the track as well. Beautiful chords and nice atmosphere. I agree with the reverb part. A little bit less reverb could maybe define some of these instruments or melodies a little bit more, which would give a little bit more definition. So one big tip that probably, anyways, most of you guys know is turn off the effects in your synths first, and then try to grab your custom reverbs. Do not use reverbs over reverbs and stuff, or delays over delays. That can create a lot of confusion, and a lot of definition of your track will suffer from it. Here, what I wouldn't, if this would be a track of mine, I would not have chosen the vocals. The vocals are too generic here, and if I think about, as we talk about this very competitive music world nowadays in the introduction, you need to kind of stand out. And here you have a beautiful track, everything nicely done, beautiful chords, nice melody, groovy and everything. But then you have this very generic vocal. Then you're basically hindering your track of breaking through with adding very generic vocals. So I have nothing against taking sample vocals and stuff, but try to whether process them in a certain way that they are sticking out a little bit more, or maybe flip them in a certain way, or just found some vocals that are not too generic, also lyrics wise and performance wise, right? Here the vocals were used as kind of a song, but the vocals are not a song. The vocals is a phrase, and that's basically looped, right? So it does not really match the production that I really liked. So that's the only thing I would have done differently if I would have done the track.
Yeah, really like the overall track. The chord progression is very nice. It's very dark. Got a really nice atmosphere. Yeah, same for the vocal. I think is not like maybe the best vocal that could suits the song, but maybe you can even like play around with it. Like, I don't know, play with the formant, like, you know, put it a bit more low so it gives like it goes through more a dark atmosphere. Yeah. Concerning the mixing, it's hard because we are on AirPods, so we are not in the studio, so
Yeah.
it's a bit hard to say. So we leave it to Christian and Julian. But maybe for the bass, I really like the chords, but maybe I would add like passing notes for the bass, you know, so it goes like to so it adds a bit more movement. But again, it's just like, artistic choice. So there's nothing wrong in there. Yeah. So the overall track is really great. Yeah, nice job.
Cool.
Or maybe up like the tempo a little bit, like maybe one or BPM, just so it's a little bit more punchy, I would say.
I feel like all music is getting a bit faster. I noticed yesterday I was going through like all the charts and just like getting some inspiration. Some of the songs that I was enjoying was like 137. I was like, wow. Yes. And then you go back.
That's wild.
Yeah, if you go from 137 back to 122, it feels like, listening in slow motion.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Okay. Cool, Andreas. It's going to be a bit quiet. Okay. So musically, I think the track is nice. It's got a nice like atmosphere to it. I think most of the problems in the track is like in the mix down and the levels. So like, for example, you got this ping, 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 this like glass sound that's almost like becoming the lead of the track because it's so much louder than all the other elements. And then the kick drum's quite loud, and all the musical things just are buried behind the kick drum and that like glass sound. So I think you really need to bring up like the chords and all the other things. It needs to be balanced better. And this sort of thing there's no like exact science to it. It's kind of just something you your ear develops over time as you make more and more music, and you'll be able to hear how loud each element should be. But if you're struggling with that, I think the best thing you can do is grab a reference track and then try and match the volume of everything. Like, how loud are their hi-hats? How loud is their kick drum? How loud is their bass? Also helps to, I like to look at this thing up here. And you can see which elements are kind of brighter and darker, and then compare them to the reference track and kind of visually see how it should look. Yeah, I think that's it from me.
Yeah, my mind was kind of occupied to figure out in what key we are in here, because you have the piano chords which are in a key. Then there was a bass line that was in a different key. And then you had this very distinctive percussion, which was again in another key. So you had these three keys playing at the same time. And that really made my mind be like, hey, something, I don't know, what do I need to concentrate on here now? Because it's not one piece. It was basically three different information for my brain to handle, right? So that was hard for me to process. Apart from that, yes, mixdown needs definitely adjustment, needs to be addressed. And as Jules said, best is to really once try to copy certain tracks that you are aiming your sound for, until you understand how to get there, what they most likely are doing, and then from there trying to create your own tracks. But yeah, I enjoyed the piano chords. The vocals were nice too, but the major thing that bothered me here was these three different keys.
Cool. It's Camille.
Hey, yeah, I really loved the chords actually. I really liked I think there was an emotion to it, and it was very promising. I really I enjoyed it, and I like the atmosphere to it. I think you have a strength in building like nice atmospheres with like vocal chops and beautiful chords. As Christian said, it would be nice to just make everything in tune with the bass and the vocal chops and the chords, so it's like everything is in the same key. But I think it's very promising, and I would have added more punch to it, like added more to the drums. I feel like, you know, like you could layer, for example, the shakers. There are some awesome shakers in Christian's pack, in the guys pack. You could add some effects as well when the drop hits. It's a really good idea always to reference. As Christian said again, I think it's the main thing, to reference tracks, just to know that we're in the right direction, mixdown wise, and yeah. But I think the idea is pretty good. So keep it up, man.
Oh. All right. Next up is Ellie Kane. Okay, I think I like parts of the track. I think, like, again, harmony and everything is quite nice. I like the melody. I really like the doom 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 doom. That little melody, really nice. I feel like there's something about the mix where it's almost like there's too much compression or something, where it's like it's lacking dynamics. It feels very squashed and like everything is very like loud and at the front. So I'm not really sure how you're processing it, but maybe it just needs less processing. The other thing is that there's this like very constant atmosphere that's happening like all the time through the track. And I think it would be nice to have moments where you like take it away and bring it back in, or have different atmosphere, because this like constant droning, it's quite resonant sound as well. I think is almost affecting the track negatively after a while. Like initially it's nice, but then it's too much. Yeah, that's it.
I agree on that with the drone. The drone is actually very beautiful, the atmospheric drone, but I would also something that is very beautiful can be killed by having it too much. So I would really use it a little bit less frequent, or at least try to come in and out and filtering it in and out. That would have benefited here. Track overall, I liked. It reminded me of like old Dario G tracks. Very summerish here as well. The groove is somehow nice, but it is somehow also not defined enough to be very, very groovy, right? So I would here as well whether work with less percussion elements or try to mix them, or maybe pan them a little bit different. Also, this is a thing that you have to deal with if you're making music with organic percussions, because those are oftentimes not very, very well quantized. So you have to be very on the lookout that you are choosing percussions that go with each other, or maybe just pick a lead percussion that you are basically taking for referencing your other percussions that you are importing, and then basically align them with that lead percussion. That could help as well. But apart from that, I enjoyed the track. I liked it.
Yeah, we really like the track as well. The atmosphere is very nice, and yeah, it's very nostalgic and happy at the same time. I think it's very great. Yeah, as a feedback, um, maybe the track comes really alive in the second break, and I would maybe implement a little bit more in the beginning. But yeah, other than that, to be honest, we really liked it. The mood is great. It made us happy, so that's good.
Oh. Okay, this one. Craig. Let's check it out. Cool. All right, just starting from the beginning, there was a chord or something that felt a bit out. I think it's that first chord. I don't know if it's out or if it's just dissonant with some weird notes there, but it just didn't sit right with me.
I like that.
You like it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
liked it. It gave it
There
some
we
me
kind
too.
of melodic thing there.
Yeah. So that's a personal thing then. Yeah, and then like onto the main idea. I really like this synth over here. I think it's a really like nice sound design on that synth, and it also the melody is nice, so good job on that. I feel like also maybe stripping back elements around it and like really letting it shine could be nice. I think if you played this, you know, in like a busy room, it might be a bit too much, and like keeping it a bit more simple and letting that core idea like shine a bit more probably be a good move. I like the groove and like the mood of it's really nice. I felt like the bass felt a little bit like rumbly. Maybe just a bit of EQ can solve that. But otherwise, yeah, it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I like the track as well. Nice progressive house music. I can remember this artist name from the demo inbox for our label signings. I can remember that a few times we considered tracks of his, and here it's basically the same feedback also for other tracks. They are really nicely produced. Quality is here, in my opinion. My studio here sounds nice and everything, but there is like the peak missing. Like I'm always like, a track needs something that if I would be standing at the bar in a club talking to someone, it would have to make me turn around and be like, okay, what is this, right? Then that's a good track. If it keeps me going talking to that person in front of me and the DJ blasting music in the background, then it's basically music that is just okay, right? And here everything is nice, but it misses that one thing that I'm like, that makes me turn around and be like, oh, wait a minute, what track is this? You know, if his tracks have this, I think it would be a really good progressive house track that would work well.
Cool. Yeah, you can go for it. Is it Max?
Yeah, that's Camille. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Christian put the words on it. I didn't quite point it out, but it's progressive house. That's what you said, progressive house.
Mhm.
Yeah, as a huge psytrance fan, psytrance. I don't know, this kind of sonorities just really talk to me, and I think there's a really strong level in the production. So I think it's great. I love the lead sound, the like stuttery lead sound that we have at some point, that Julian you talked about, and yeah, I think it's very coherent. Sound design is on point. I think it's right. I would just maybe you know, like one drop, just keep it simple, just the kick, the bass, and the lead, just to bring you like a euphoric moment at some point, and or very like very punchy moment, as Christian said, like that makes you like turn your head, something like that. Because I think there are strong elements in there, and you could again like strip it down a little bit and display more the elements instead of having like everything in the drop, like maybe hit bass and the lead, and then bring everything else. I think it would make it shine even more. But congrats on this. I think it's really good.
Cool. Thanks. Let's go to the next one. Zach. Okay. Yeah, I think it's a nicely produced track. The mix is nice. The groove is great. I think where it lacks is like through this breakdown, I kept waiting for that piano chord progression to kind of grow and develop into something new, you know, like you can keep the same like chord progression, the same like bass chords, but between those chords like develop a melody, so like little passing notes, you know, like a little you can do like a little trill with your fingers between a couple of notes between each chord or something, just to like develop it more and grow it more, or even change just like the top note of the chord, or pitch the chord up an octave, or just do something to take it somewhere new, because this breakdown's quite long and there's not much that changes. That or the synth melody could maybe be developed. I'd say one or the other, but not both, because that could get confusing. And then as you go into this drop, like maybe play that piano with like a higher velocity so it gets brighter, and then, you know, you really like play this like full new melody that you developed in the breakdown, or maybe change the bass line in the breakdown, just something to take it into a new place. But otherwise, really nice.
I think so too. It's a beautiful track. Feedback is similar to the track we had before. It's nicely produced. You can hear the level of production and the abilities of the producer are very high. But it misses as well that's something special, right? That's something that this track would stand out from a lot of other tracks in that genre. Especially also since the piano melody was very, very simple, very it's very typical, very generic chord progression, and from that it would be hard for me to recognize this track in a playlist of 100 tracks after I listen to all the 100 tracks. You know what I mean? But apart from that, nicely produced. I could hear these beautiful shakers that you, Jules, programmed for the pack. They're also in my workflow, actually. I use them all the time. They are very well produced, and you can hear they make a track like so groovy instantly when you drop them. And yeah, well done.
Yeah, well done. The track is nice. We can hear like the production is really good. Yeah, a bit the same as you guys. I feel like, especially for me in the drop, it felt like, you know, you expect a bit more, and then there is just like the chords, and it leaves you a bit hanging. So I would try to, I don't know, try to give a little edge in the drop. So it's a bit more recognizable and distinctive from all the other Afro House track. But it's easier to say than to do it. But yeah, that would be the advice. Otherwise, yeah, the production is nice, groove is on point. Yeah, maybe in the middle of the break is a little bit boring to me. Like it was just at some point it was just like the 4 chords laid down, and so I would maybe like yeah, shorten it a little bit so it's always moving, and yeah, that's my feedback.
Ooh. Domestique. Okay. Yeah, I think there's some really strong ideas in here. My favorite part of the track is the piano chords. I think they're really, really beautiful chords, like above average, really, really nice chords. So I would focus on that and like make the piano chords like the lead of the track. Try and keep them sort of at the forefront of the track and maybe develop them a bit more with like passing tones and stuff. Like the little arpeggios and stuff that come in, they're fine for me. They don't really, it's not like they're doing much for the track, in my opinion. And the synth over here, this like distorted lead, feels almost a little bit out of place for my taste and for like the mood of the track, I think. So yeah, I would really like try and just focus on those piano chords. I like the idea of bringing in this like LFO synth that follows the chords in the breakdown. I just think it can be maybe executed a bit better. This is the kind of synth that I would probably spend like 3 days on, like 20 hours, like playing with the LFO and trying to get it like sounding really catchy and like impressive. And maybe it never works. Maybe this is the best it'll ever sound, but I would just maybe spend more time on it, like trying to get it sounding like really cool. And then the last thing is the bass. I think maybe you should just try low passing it a bit more. Like you have the grittiness of like the high end of that like saw wave coming through. And I found it a bit distracting and also like maybe it feels a bit muddy. So maybe if you like low passed it down to like, I don't know, 150 hertz or something. So it's just really sub. Because there's so much other stuff happening. I don't think you really need to like fill that area with just a saw wave. Yeah, and that was it pretty much.
I also really enjoyed the piano chords, and I would have really built the track on that, or at least try to derivate from these piano chords. In the beginning, I actually thought it would go that way, and was very exciting for the drop. I was like, okay, now it's going to happen. Now it's going to blow me away. It was groovy then, but it didn't push somehow because all these elements there lost me from that first emotions I had when these piano chords came in. So I thought this would be a bit sad that it didn't actually transport that feeling from the beginning into the drop somehow. What I really liked in the drop are these detune square sounds that are helping the chord progressions. This was somehow fresh, smart, and also transported a little bit of emotions through this basically an enhancement of these chords. But other than that, track is decent, track is cool.
Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed the piano chords as well. I think they are really strong, and I think you could add some top melodies on top of it to keep it even more interesting and make it more evolutive. And for the drop, maybe I would have tried something. I would have tried to find a different motive from the piano. So there would be two schools. Either like you would go for a very like flying track and you would keep the piano chords and just build on it and add a nice Reese bass under it and make it drop like that. Or you could even break this piano motif and go with like some rhythmical thing, because I think like in these Afro house tracks, it needs to be it needs to have something special to be played because there are so many of them, and these chords are awesome. And I think the track deserves even more originality to it. And I really like the rhythm you put in the drop, like with the claps, da 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 da. I think you could elaborate on that and make the sound even more interesting and make the other elements of the track follow that. For example, when we play Afro House, we love to play some really rhythmical stuff and some stuff that have like strong motives in the drop that can go like pa 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 pa. Yeah, so that's just our 2 cents on that.
Cool. There's 2 here. Okay, we're just going to do 1 dark skies. Okay. I think I really like the melody. The main melody is really nice. I think the synth though feels like a little almost like cheap sounding. Don't really have a better word for it, but somehow it's like sounds like almost like plasticky. I would maybe just try and find a different synth, something like a bit of like a noisy top end. Just like all of these Afterlife synths, like really gritty, like synced leads. And then like on the topic of that, I feel like going back to the exact same synth in the same exact way as the first drop it doesn't create like a special moment in the track. So on the second drop, I would probably just find like a different lead sound or like a response lead or something, like something that the listener hasn't heard, just to make that second drop special. And then mix-wise, the kick felt like muted almost, like sounds like, somebody hitting like a pillow with a baseball bat or something. Doesn't have any like transient or any click on it. So I think just layering like a kick on the top or just changing the kick overall or like a more like melodic techno sounding kick would be nice. And then the same thing with the hi-hats. They didn't feel like there was much like energy in the high end. So just a nice like hi-hat loop do wonders, I think, on that. And the bass felt a little like it's the same volume as the kick and should maybe be a bit quieter than the kick. I think that's it.
Yeah, also the first thing I wrote down is kick transients. The kick didn't really have a transient, especially if you're using this very plucky staccato sounds. You need to make sure that your kick has a certain transient information that can keep up with that level, right? Otherwise, in a club, it will just make instead of really punching through. So yeah, it sounded like the top layer of the kick was muted somehow. So I think this was maybe just a production mistake. Then in the chat, a few people wrote that this song needs faster BPM. In my opinion, it does not need a faster BPM. And I think exactly here we have an example of something that stands out. It's a little different. If I would be the producer of that, I would even make it 2, 3 BPM slower, like to really target a different audience, right? Um, I really liked the melody, that lead melody, but I would change that ARP or not necessarily change, but maybe layer that ARP sound so it doesn't sound so generic. Usually I would work with some detuned saw waves or a square wave or something underneath, or just alter that sound a little bit to sound a little bit more special and unique. And if these three things and maybe a little bit more variation in that melody, it could from because it's always repeating this. If this has slightly, just not too much, but just here and there, maybe change a note or something, then it could keep the listener engaged all the way through. Um, uh, so then this track is an awesome track in my opinion. I really like it.
Yeah, I think the two masters said it all. For me, I really, really, really loved the track, and I think it has a really strong motif. Um, this is typically the kind of thing I want to go back to listen to it again. This stuttery synth. I really love that kind of sounds. I love the acid plucks you added as a response to it sometimes. I think it was pretty well laid out. I agree with the arpeggiated synth that could be a little bit more interesting, a bit detuned or something like that. And maybe little variations in the stutter synth, like call and response. Maybe just one note or something like that, just to make it just a little bit more interesting. But overall, I really love the idea, and I think it's the idea that's the most important here. Like I think a lot of the other tracks we heard before, a lot of them lacked a strong motif, and this one has a very strong one. This one has a motif that I can go back to and I can remember in my head, you know. And I want to listen to it again. And I agree with the transient thing. Maybe you're producing on speakers. It happened to me in the past. I had a very it was not, the acoustic treatment was really bad at my home, so I was lacking a lot of information frequency wise. So here maybe you're lacking the information in the top end, and it feels like it needs more top end on the kick, on the drums, and as Christian said, and Julian as well, like transients and layers. And even on the starter synth, you could add a noise layer, a very, very pointy, very staccato noise layer to make it more, to make the sound more full. But otherwise, love the track, man. Congrats.
Oh. Right, we
And also
got
the name, right, Caravan, is basically really defining this track as well. So I also love the name of the project. So I definitely wouldn't go faster, just for the artist if he is here in the chat.
yeah.
Because he could, these kind of ideas are those ideas where new complete genres are built off, right?
Yeah, we do
You're
the
having
wrong thing.
all these people are like, we are familiar with this 128 BPM thing, and then someone comes and rips it the same kind of idea, but on 100 BPM. And there is a market. I'm pretty sure there is a market for people who are tired of the same 128. And some
Yeah.
DJs are picking it up who are maybe opening up for this kind of events and stuff, right? And boom, you have a new market, and you are the one that actually hit that market first, and that's always a plus.
That's what happened with
I thought-
Rez, Rez from Mousetrap.
Mm-hmm.
She slowed music down to like, I think it was like always at 130, and then she went down to like 110 and made the bass, like same bass music, but everybody was like, oh, this is so cool. It's like different.
Exactly.
Hey, I forgot to add something. Maybe I would have loved to hear like maybe a female whisper vocal between the stutter leads or something like that. Just an idea would have been super cool, I think.
Yeah. I'm just checking how many. We have 10 left. I think my maximum is 4 p.m. that I can go to because I have another appointment.
I guess, sorry, yeah, we have a plane to take as well. So
Okay, how much time do you have left?
I think we would have like the battery is getting pretty low. I would say maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. All right, no problem.
Sorry
we'll
for
keep
this.
going as long as possible.
No worries.
All right, D Ocean, Cape Town, nice. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised at the beginning when the melody started. I thought, oh, this is going to be like a, this never happened kind of fluffy, bright, major sounding like melodic house tune. And then it dropped into this rolling kick and bass. And it felt really good. So I think you mixed the kick and the bass nicely there. There's a couple things. Especially here, this one stuck out a lot to me. This I don't know what that is, like a acoustic kick drum or something. It's really like loud and very muddy and like cutting through. I would just remove that sound overall. I don't think it's a good sound for the track. And then you got this like stutter kind of afterlife sounding synth. It sounds cool, but it sounds like you're only really hearing like the top end of it, so it makes it feel thin. I think whenever you have a sound like that, you should always try and like keep like the bass of it, like the weight of it in the sound. Otherwise, it just feels like badly produced or like thin. So you don't have to cut like the lows out of everything. You can leave lows in certain sounds. Like that sound needs the lows. In my opinion. And then it also felt like there was just too much. I feel like this track could also be stripped back and let like the main elements shine a bit more. You don't constantly need like a barrage of like atmospheres and like swooshes and stuff happening all the time. But yeah, I like the melody. The melody is quite catchy, and I listened all the way to the end because I didn't feel like I wanted to stop it. Like I was enjoying it looping around and happening again. So well done on that.
I think it's a beautiful track, very nicely produced. I also was like when that breakbeat started in the breakdown, it was also like, okay, what's happening here? Because the rest of the track is very nicely mixed, and then this very aggressive sounding kick drums or breakbeat hit the breakdown, where actually the atmosphere did not make me expect that. Okay, this is a head turner on what we talked about before, but I'm not sure if it's a positive head turner here. So I would rather have picked a breakbeat that maybe fits in more with the beautiful atmosphere. I really loved the chord progressions, which are not as standard and as generic as other chord progressions. Has had this one chord change that I really enjoyed, that is a little bit more out of the ordinary. So definitely enjoyed that. And also on the mix side, I would have mixed it a little bit less reverbish or less long release instruments, which sometimes it felt like a little bit. I had hard time to understand what is now the lead in the part of the track, right? Sometimes there was some kind of a violin or something coming, and then I would have expected that maybe the other elements, the other melodic elements, would have gone a little bit more in the background, so it is very well defined. And that's what I try to do with my tracks all the time. I try to only have one element sitting on top, that is the lead, and the other elements I'm trying to build as supporting that lead, right? And here sometimes I had a hard time to define, or my brain had a hard time to define which one is the one that I have to concentrate my brain on, because our brain can always only concentrate on this one element. And if you're having too much elements, our brain gives us the signal, oh, something is wrong. Even nothing is wrong, but it's just like the brain cannot handle more than one information in the music, and the other elements need to support this information, so that this information is, it's actually like you're having a piece of meat on a platter, and if you're putting all sorts of other foods around that piece of meat, it gets lost in everything. But if you're draping everything nicely around that piece of meat shines even more through, I don't know how to explain it else, but That's what not really bothering me, because I think here we are feedbacking on a very high level, because the track is really nice on all levels, also production level. So the feedback is here very high.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say, to be honest. I'm not very accustomed to this progressive house genre. And if I had to say something, I would say I would go with Christian on this, with picking an element and focusing on it 100% and trying to make it shine as much as possible, and put the other elements in service to that. And sometimes this goes toward making more room to it, and as it's a very corny thing to say, and it's been said so many times, and maybe there's a reason for that. It's like less is more. So yeah, apart from that, I don't know. I think it's a good production. Yeah. I love to hear nice motifs, as as I always say, and here it's pretty strong, and maybe you could also add in the breaks a little maybe a speech or a vocal, but I don't know. I don't really know this genre, so I'm not gonna extend too much on it.
Cool. All right. Let's see.
You guys have time for one other one, or you have to run?
Oh, they're
We
muted.
don't hear you anymore.
Yeah, sorry. It just passed me the earpod. I'm back. Sorry, guys. Did you say something?
Yeah, do you guys have time for another one, or you have to board?
Yeah. We can do like
Okay.
two
Okay.
or three maybe.
Okay, cool. This is Just a Dream.
Okay.
Need more energy. 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 Need more energy. 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 Need more energy. Energy. Need more energy.
Cool. So yeah, I like the chords. Initially, when I first heard like the musical stuff coming in, it felt really nice to me. The vocal somehow doesn't really fit the track. It feels almost like too dark for the rest of the track. Especially, you really notice it over here, where you do this like cool stuttery thing. It's a cool like nicely produced idea, and I think it would fit really well in another song. But I was expecting like some mean like dark synth to follow that, and then it's just kind of this playful, like happy, arpeggio, and they just vibe-wise don't fit each other in my opinion. And then the ARP, if it was my track, I would not use that ARP. I would take it away and like focus more on like the chord progression, because the ARP just doesn't feel like anything special to me, both on the sound design and like the melody front. Feels like, the synth is not like very dynamic, doesn't have like a nice like shape to it. It feels quite like static, and then I'm just not a big fan of the ARP. But I think the rest of the track, so if you take the vocal away and that arpeggio away, I think you've still got a good idea that you can build on. So I wouldn't like ditch the whole track just for the sake of those two elements. I would try something else, basically. Yeah.
Actually, I like the track for what it is. It's a very niche kind of like the track, the way it is, made sense for me. Also the vocal, also this very dreamy stuff. I mean, the track's name is Just a Dream, and this very atmospheric progressive house environment actually made sense for me. It is very niche music, but I do not see this track as played by a big DJ for entertaining his crowd, but I can see this track in a playlist for just going through the day or driving around or stuff like this, right? So for that, I actually think it's very nicely executed, mixdown wise. There was some kind of a percussion that somehow felt a little bit out of the mixdown, like some what was it? Maybe some kind of sounded like someone is hitting a platter or something, or a dish or something, that I would have mixed more into the sound, which is a little bit more muffled, and then you have this platter hitting thing, but it's also a taste thing. So I really enjoyed this.
Great. Yeah, I liked it too. Actually, I like the harp as well. Like, I know, Julian, you didn't like it, but I felt like it was nice, especially in the break, in the build up. It's seated well with the snare roll and the whole like rising part. To me, it felt right. Only feedback I would say is maybe in the drop it hits directly and it's a little bit too full for me. We said it a lot, but I would like strip down a little bit more in the drop so we can like add elements a bit afterwards, because now like when the drop is delivering everything, it sounds a little bit full. Yeah, other than that, I thought it was great.
Cool. All right. Already done that one.
Okay, we can do one more, guys.
Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. First thing that I've noticed is this section over here. I think it goes on a little bit too long. Like, it doesn't sound bad or anything, but maybe it's either some ear candy, just like things that pop in and out over there, or just like cut it in half, like make it like 4 bars long or something. It's kind of just like a bridge into the breakdown. Musically, it's all quite nice, I think. The lead is maybe like a bit, I don't know, washed out and like soaked in reverb for my taste. I'd prefer like a more like beefy analog sounding synth, a little drier. Yeah, there wasn't much. I think, oh yeah, the other thing is, and this is maybe just a personal thing, but I don't really like these kicks that are like sitting in the mid range. I like, especially in like the more Afro house sound stuff that's like a bit more subby and doesn't have that like poppy, I don't really have a word to describe it, but like a lot of energy in like 100 hertz. I like to have like more of the energy down at like 50 hertz. So I would just change that kick. But yeah, otherwise, I quite like that. That vocal sounds pretty cool. And musically, it's all nice.
I enjoyed it as well. Um, I also thought the breakdown, I would have better worked with some kind of filtered beats or something maybe, or shorten it a little bit. Because I think there you lose the crowd on the dance floor. I oftentimes get feedback as well from DJs and friends that are like, "Hey, Chris, try to make these breakdowns less long because the track is nice, but then we have to cut it ourselves because on the dance floor it just doesn't convert if you're in the peak time, and then you're having 1 minute break with just like dreamy synths and stuff." So I talk from my own experience that somehow you have to keep it entertaining as well, next to just having a few chords and melodies going in a breakdown. So here I would have rather extend at least some muffled beats or some low-carded beats or whatever a little bit longer into the breakdown. Then I had the same feeling here as with the track we had before, that it could be a little bit drier. There was a lot of reverb, especially here in the second part of the drop, when you also come in with these square leads. And it felt a little bit that square lead wasn't necessarily bad, but the square lead felt somehow like, okay, it I understand that the track here now gets boring, so I have to introduce something else. So I basically forced this extra square thing there to um, have it a little longer going. I would have worked this out with something less obvious, something that is less supporting the whole thing. And the last thing is, I would have not worked with that. The clap on the 2 and 4 kind of took the groove a little bit away, especially for the Afro house stuff. I would have placed it a little bit more creatively, maybe every second time around, on every fourth. I would have probably made it a little bit early, like a 16th earlier, for example, or maybe even an 8 later or something, just so it keeps grooving. And yeah, rest is cool. I read in the chat that you guys are, or someone asked for a code for Cyclopedia 2. That code would be Go Cyclo 2. I can write it in the chat later. So that I think gives 50% off, which is our deal from the ads.
Want me to
Yeah,
write that in the chat? Is it go? Was it Go Cyclo?
Go Cyclo 2.
Like that?
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, and that's on soundsfat.com, not on Basic Waves.
Mhm.
All right. So Camille, Sorry, Max?
Max.
Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max. There we go. Got it.
Yeah. We keep changing, so yeah, good. Yeah, I like the track. I think it was nice. I agree with you, Christian, as well. It's funny because it happened to us like yesterday. It's like in the break when it's too long, it kills the crowd like entirely. And as a DJ, we don't see ourselves like playing like I don't know, like 8 or 16 bar of like just like small elements because when you're in a hit moment, you cannot you're not allowed to do it, otherwise you lose the crowd and it's awful. So what we usually do when it happens like this, we go to Ableton, we put the track and we like erase like some parts like really, and we do our own edits, which is cool for us because we can do it. But like sometimes you have like DJs that are not producer and they won't do it, and maybe they won't play the track just because there is this little gap of like because you want to keep the energy. That's what we do, and this little moment can be like very very tough on a crowd. So yeah, I would say like try to keep always the track moving, and whenever there are breaks, uh it should be like like always have an element that it's growing and it felt like always moving. Otherwise, like the listeners and the people in the club, they will go for a smoke or something. This is the kind of the vibe that can happen. So
I heard this
yeah.
so many times in the past 20 years. So I learned this the hard way too.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, I think the track was nice, and yeah, I like the emotion and the energy of it. So it's really great. And yeah, so we will need to go now, guys. So thank you guys for the amazing pack, by the way. We used it a lot now, and we used it, by the way, on our last David Guetta remix, Forever Young.
Oh, nice.
We used yeah. It's amazing. We used like the lead on like some diva presets, and it sounds like the typical one note lead. It sounds great. We use some one shot as well, so yeah, we're really happy with this pack. It's like a good go-to for us now, and there are everything you need to do like a good afro house track, typical one note lead. And I really like as well the ear candy, like you put some animals and some like little shots, and I think it's really cool because it can go like from a regular track to like a really unique track just by these little like details. And I think as a producer, this is what we are looking for, just like having this little magic and keeping like the track original, and we are all like attentive to this kind of details. So yeah, it's a really great sample pack, so thank you. And yeah,
Thank you,
I got some
guys.
few words of advice for the producer there. Maybe they already know it, but I think it's always great to say, to help each other. I would say, guys, finish your tracks. This is really, really important, because if you just like start ideas, then you will have only the fun part, which is starting ideas. But you need to give this 10 last percent, and just know how the whole process of building a song and finishing it. And of course, like finishing a track sometimes is not fun because you have to listen to it over and over and just like fine tune and everything, but it's really worth it at the end. And I think it's what makes a difference between a regular producer to a really great producer. Um, Something else is like put yourself out there. Send your music to labels, to artists. Trust yourself. For example, we did Sauti. We just like randomly sent a message through Instagram to Francis Mercier. We didn't even know him. We were like, okay, hey, we got this demo of Sauti, and he said like, okay, it's great. Let's work on it together. So you never know what's gonna happen.
Nice. Do you have a promo email for us?
Sorry?
Do you have a promo email for us that we can send our music to you?
To us? Yeah, of course. Like you can send it to Instagram. We check everything.
Okay,
and
great.
there is of course our email, faul.official@gmail.com. Yeah, we check promos. We have our track stack. It's in the bio in our Insta. So if you want feedbacks, then we can give it. Of course, guys. I would say keep learning as well, watching YouTube tutorials, but we're already doing it since you're here, so it's great. Keep doing it. And yeah, another part that's really important is like be active on social media. I think this is not the fun part because we are all producers and we just want to make music, and that's true. But if you want to build a profile and be an artist, you need to do this. You need to have your Instagram, you need to have everything, and just put yourself out there, because now it's a bit sad, but it's true. Like, it's 50% music and 50% like at least, social media, connecting, networking. And yeah, sometimes it's not fun and you have to do it, but trust us, it will really do a difference. We really saw it in our career. Yeah. And most importantly, guys, keep making music, and you can't fail if you never give up. So yeah, I think that's the thing, guys. So thank you so much. And yeah.
Yeah,
Let's-
thanks
Thank
so
you
much
guys
for joining us, guys. That was
Really
great.
appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
of course. It's a pleasure. Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks.
Safe
Bye-bye.
travels. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we still got to. I've got another meeting, and then I've got another meeting at 4:30. So I don't know if we can actually do any more.
Up to you.
Yeah, and we still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. Should we do one more and then?
Yeah, maybe someone is in the chat here of these
Yeah,
of
let's
these
see if anybody's in the chat.
submissions. So we would prefer them since they would already be here.
See if they respond. The delay is quite long.
Okay.
Let's do Shri. He's a long time subscriber. There we go. He's there anyway.
Okay.
Okay. He's also a sound designer for Basic Waves. He made this Organic House Essentials pack. He makes amazing
Oh, okay,
organic house
cool.
music.
Okay. Yeah, I'm using this too.
Oh yeah? Oh nice.
I think so. Wasn't this the I think I bought a few packs of you guys like last year, and I think the one of them was an organic house one.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I think this one, Organic House, came out this year, I believe. But we do
Okay, no,
have
then
other
no,
organic
I bought
ones.
last year. A
But,
few packs. Wait, I can check which ones are on my. Artist Kick. The Diva preset, yes, some Diva presets and some Zero presets I bought from you guys,
Oh, okay.
which I really enjoyed. And I told you once, right, that we used actually one big lead for that Noram Pure track. That I think we opened up the presets and we found this lead and we were like, that the track is done with just that
Yeah.
one sound.
Which one was that?
The track
Yeah.
Indulgence.
Indulgence.
Indulgence, yeah.
Need to write
It
this
has
down.
this very, very rich lead, which we took from your sample, from your preset pack.
This one?
This bass line here. And the whole thing, it filters up and down and stuff, and you have this really nice mellow flow built in as well.
Nice. Yeah, you did tell me. I went and I looked for that lead, but I couldn't find it myself.
Okay, I can open up the project one of these days and tell you which one it was, and you can
Then I can.
share it with the community.
I'll make an Indulgence part 2.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually heard this track before. I think you guys sent it to me privately before. And I gave similar feedback, but I'll just say it again. The thing that I think bothers me the most about this track is I keep waiting for the bass line to resolve, and I never like hear that resolution. So, like for example, I don't know, maybe this is just me personally. Maybe I've got it wrong. My music taste is great, but it's a feeling that I get. Over here, I'm waiting for the dom, like that one to come in. Do you hear that
Mhm.
too?
Yeah, I can see where you come from. It didn't bother me too much, to be honest, though,
Okay.
but I see what you mean.
Yeah, it never feels like that. It happens, and I'm like constantly waiting for it, and it just never comes.
Yeah.
And then, so I'll start with the bad things. The other thing is that the melody, this kind of like ARP thingy, it's like it's nice. It like meanders around a bit, but it's quite thin, and it's sort of like a background atmospheric element. It feels like the way that the track is built is that that's supposed to be the lead, but to me that just sounds like a background element, and it shouldn't be the main thing. The vocals are really nice. I love the vocals. The drums are great. They sound like really, really good. I love the groove, especially like when that comes in initially over here. I was like, yes, it's amazing. Especially with that little tuk tuk thing over there. Perfect groove. So like this is where I would basically start from. Like, let's strip it back to this and try and build a new bass line, new melody with that, and keep the vocals. So yeah, that's my feedback.
Yeah, I also love the groove. Very, very cool. It is this time it's not just groovy, but it's also pushing in a way, right? It made me groove here on the chair. So that's a good sign. This means that the percussion elements are aligned and they are transporting a certain groovy feeling. So I really like that. I think the kick drum could have a little bit more transience in my taste, especially once you're starting to fill up the arrangement with other sounds than the kick drum, or at least the top attack kick drum gets lost here and there. So maybe also work with automation. If you want to keep the kick drum muffled, that's okay. But maybe just work throughout the track with here and there enhancing the transients a little bit so the kick at least has the same feel all the way through the track. Um, what I liked here was that the certain beat section was going through the breakdown, which we talked about just before, right? I think here you can avoid having that complete breakdown by with these percussion and elements in the background that still keep it groovy, right? But you're also having it kind of dreamy there. The question is if this is enough groove to keep the people dancing and on the dance floor, if that's intended, obviously, or if this is not enough groove information already there. If not, if you would test it out on a dance floor and you see, okay, that people keep leaving the dance floor halfway through the breakdown, then you might want to rearrange certain small things or add in even more elements there. The rest was nice. I mean, the bass didn't bother me too much, nor did the leads. Somehow, it is a question of tastes. My tastes did like it, so yeah, cool track. And definitely, it's a great if I see here Birch UK and Shri India. It's two different cultures that got together and brought in most likely their very different upbringing and a very different culture into one track, and that's always when really exciting and cool music is coming out of because it's basically two worlds clashing, and yeah, that's music for me.
Nicely put. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's it for the live stream today. We got through 15 out of the 20. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Yeah, great work with all the samples. I'm sure you're all aware of the sample pack, but if you aren't, you can go check it out. I think it might still be on sale. Maybe the sale's over. I don't know. But yeah, maybe we should give you guys all a code that you can use if you don't have the pack. Let me double check if it's on sale right now. I think we were running the sale until the 24th, actually. Oh yeah, it's still on sale on our side. Yeah, I think it's 20% off at the moment. You can grab it if you don't have it. Okay. Do you have any last words or anything to say?
No, just thank you so much for having me. It was very great to be part of this. I loved to review and hear the music that came out of these samples that we produced last year. So yeah, very grateful for that. Very happy to hear and very happy to be part of this as well. So thank you so much, guys.
Oh yeah, and thanks so much for joining us. Okay. Yeah, guys, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week for more live
Have a
streams.
great time.